Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to give you 10 reasons from the book of Proverbs why you are poor. The first is a lack of diligence in your business. Proverbs 28:19 says this, "He that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough." While there can be many approaches to this verse, if you just take it on the surface level, think about what litters stores with tabloids, people following vain persons in the media, celebrities, music stars, movie stars, all these people that have little to no substance, but people follow these vain people. They're interested in them. They associate with other vain people who are interested in these individuals, and it keeps that whole process going. Those people will be filled with poverty. It's very rare you go into a poor person's house and they have books and literature and they're reading about things, but you might find tabloid magazines and movies because they are following after vain persons. Instead of being diligent in their business, tilling their land so they can have plenty of bread, they're busy following after the vain lives of people who have no substance. The second reason is pride, but in a different way than most people might understand it. Proverbs 29:23 says, "A man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold the humble in spirit." I've seen people out of work whose finances are dwindling daily because they have no income coming in, and they refuse to work at a fast food restaurant or some other place, not for ethical or moral reasons, but because it's too little pay. They would rather have no pay rather than be ashamed to get the low pay of this fast food restaurant that's beneath them. Their pride is bringing them low. Instead of taking opportunities that are available to them, they're going to sit back and wait for the best opportunity possible, which will never come because it is predicated upon these other opportunities being taken in the first place. Too often people ignore opportunities and they let their pride say, "Well, I'm too good to do that. I got a college education. What am I going to do working at a fast food restaurant? That's too little money for me. It's not worth it for me to even do it." Their pride is bringing them low. The third reason from the book of Proverbs why you are poor is that you refuse instruction. Proverbs 13:18, "Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored." Countless times I've had people argue against me in points I've made, saying, "Well, that's not true because this, and their points are completely wrong. But not even that, as much as the fact that their lives show forth the evidence of their error. They are not prospering, they're not doing well, they've never had any financial success, ever, and yet they want to refuse instruction and tell other people about how they know this and they read this book. And listen, books can be great, but if you're just repeating somebody else's information that you do not know from experience and you haven't put into practice, that's useless. Don't be this vain person that is refusing instruction, this foolish person, because only poverty and shame can come to you. Reason number 4 from the book of Proverbs about why you are poor is that you're trying to get rich quick. Proverbs 28:22 says, "He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not that poverty shall come upon him." Over and over again, this principle is seen to play out in people's lives. They play the lottery, they get into MLM nonsense. They're doing all these things. They get in these ICOs that are obvious scams. They get in these pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes. All these things to get rich quick because they don't want to put in the hard, diligent, intelligent work that's required for success. They're trying to get rich quick. They have an evil eye, and they do not understand that only poverty can come upon them. They're not going to get rich. The fifth reason from the book of Proverbs why you are poor is that you love sleep. I have seen people unwilling to give up even 30 minutes of sleep It's not going to affect their health in any way to do something that would bring them success. Well, I need my sleep. I need my sleep. I got to get this rest. If I don't have enough rest, I just can't function. That's what you tell yourself. If you went to sleep with the mindset that I'm going to get up refreshed, energized, and I'm going to get up earlier than normal, I'm going to do more on less sleep, and I'm going to get more accomplished, and I'm going to be more diligent and get to my work and my endeavors earlier, you would get so much more done. But this is not common among poor people. It's very rare. Proverbs 20:13 says, "Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread." Stop laying around. Stop relaxing. Stop loving sleep. Get to work. Be diligent in your endeavors, and you will have success. The sixth reason from the book of Proverbs why you are poor is making excuses for failure and sin. Proverbs 28:13 says, "He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy." Too many people are found fighting against God, living lives that are contrary to His will, living lives of disobedience and sin and evil, and then they expect mercy. They expect blessing. They expect prosperity, and they'll never find it. They make excuses for why they sin. They make excuses for errors. They never stop doing them. They just keep repeating same patterns and sins over and over again, expecting new results, better blessings, expecting mercy. And the scripture is very clear: "He that covereth his sins shall not prosper." Confess and forsake them, get rid of them forever, and you'll have mercy, and you'll find prosperity as well. The seventh reason, which kind of goes along with the fifth reason, is being a sluggard. Absolute laziness. Proverbs 6:9-11 says, "How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man." And along those same lines, Proverbs 24:33-34 says, "Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man." Laziness, putting things off, relaxing, slumbering, sleeping. These things are all too common. How often are people relaxing and slumbering and lounging around, watching movies, sports, news, entertainment, and spending their lives wasting away being entertained, not living, not producing, not becoming valuable, not helping other people, but just existing to be entertained. Poverty is the only thing you can expect when that is your life. You cannot bring success and riches and wealth into your life when you're doing the things that push it away. Reason number 8 from the book of Proverbs why you're poor is that you ignore the opportunities in front of you. Proverbs 13:23 says, "Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment." Think of that people have land available to them, but they're not using it to the best of their ability to get the food that is available, that could be brought up from taking that opportunity and taking advantage of it and moving forward in success. These are the people that live from paycheck to paycheck. Instead of taking their money and having it work for them and do something for them, it's just all spent up. It's gone, it's wasted. And it's not just on living, it's on frivolous things as well. How often have you seen people who are poor, yet they're driving new vehicles? Why? You can barely afford anything as it is, and you're driving brand new vehicles. When you could buy one that's a couple years old, it'd be almost like brand new, and you would save all that depreciation that occurs in those first 2 years, up to 50% on some vehicles. But you don't for no other reason except you want to have a new car and impress people who don't matter. That destroys your financial future and keeps you poor. It robs you from financial blessings, and it keeps you in poverty and lack and want. Reason number 9 from the book of Proverbs about why you are poor is greed. Many people associate greed with the wealthy because they have so much. And yet many times the wealthy are the biggest givers around, and they've always gave, even when they were poor. Proverbs 11:24-25 says this, "There is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself." When you give, it comes back to you. Jesus said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." Giving is a fundamental principle in wealth. You want to have more wealth, you need to be a giver. Withholding, keeping more than you really need, holding it back, is the battle cry for many poor people. They say, we can't give, we can't afford to, we can't, and they make excuses for why they don't and why they hold stuff back. And inevitably, any amount of money they're able to hold back winds up getting eaten up in some other thing. They need new tires, a window breaks, their air conditioner goes out. There's always something that occurs, and that money goes away because it tends to poverty. That kind of mentality of holding things back, greedily clinging to things, that scarcity mentality where you don't think there's an abundance. You have a poverty mentality, and you're clinging to whatever you have. This is often exhibited also in people who hoard things. They keep useless things they don't need, they have no use for, that could benefit somebody else, but they cling to them and hold them and keep them for themselves, even though they'll never use them, just because of greed. The final 10th reason from the book of Proverbs about why you are poor is oppressing other poor people. Proverbs 28:3 says, "A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food." Nothing is more tragic than what goes on in the inner cities where there's a lot of concentrated poverty and poor people are killing and robbing and stealing from one another. All kinds of awful, evil crime goes on amongst the poor in these areas. And it's the poor oppressing the poor. It's not the rich man. It's not some rich man in his big mansion oppressing these little poor people. It's each individual poor person doing it to themselves, doing it to each other. And it's tragic and it's evil. And it will only bring about more poverty. You know, the movies portray drug dealers as in Scarface with huge mansions and all this money, and that happens with cartels with a few of the leaders. But the reality is, these individual drug dealers that are polluting their little cities, polluting their communities with drugs, make very little money. Many of them are still under the poverty level, and every single day they're putting their lives at risk for useless, soul-destroying, community-crushing endeavors such as drugs, gangs, and violence, and all these things. And each poor person robbing and stealing from one another, always trying to get one up, always never trusting anyone else. It's a tragic way to live, and it can only perpetuate poverty. No wealth will be attained from that kind of behavior. Now, if you listen this long, I'm going to give you a bonus reason why you are poor from the book of Proverbs. It's Proverbs 18:23. "The poor useth entreaties, but the rich answereth roughly." Now, many people have taken this one particular way, but I think there's another way to look at this verse that could be very useful for people to understand. The poor use entreaties, the poor beg or give supplications, they're pleading, but the rich answers roughly. They're abrupt, they're to the point. That may sound bad, but what if you look at it this way? What if you look at it, the rich are quick to the point, they say what they need to say, and they go about their business. But the poor are begging, pleading. They're not asserting their rights. They're not ensuring that they get what they deserve. They're just pleading and whining and crying and begging and hoping, but never standing with authority and power. They're right under the gospel of Jesus Christ to have the things they are wanting. So they use entreaties. But the rich, who don't have time to mince words, speak pointedly, and just say the truth quickly. They answer roughly. I've known people like this, and many people don't understand it. Oh, that person's so mean. They just didn't listen to me. Maybe they didn't want to listen to 5 minutes of nonsense, of people talking about the weather or droning on about this problem and that problem, because those people don't focus on that. They move on. There's a problem. What's the solution? Find it, move on, go forward. Don't beg, don't cry, don't whine, don't plead, don't use entreaties, just move on. Take what's yours in faith. Believe. How often are people pleading with God, begging God for things He's already given them that they've refused to receive? I'm going to put a link to my book about prayer, how to get your prayers answered, because I have a book that I've written about this. It gives prayers. You can pray, believe God, and receive, and get your prayers answered. Because this is a fundamental problem. Many people do not believe. They talk about faith, but they don't really believe. And so they can never assert any kind of authority, never believe God for anything, because they don't truly have faith that they're going to get their prayers answered. They believe God needs to be convinced of something when He doesn't need any convincing at all. You need the convincing, because it's up to you to get the faith and believe that you received. My friend, I pray it's been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.